Hey everyone, it's Julian, and today I'm going to be showing you how to make deep minimal house like Stussy and Djoko. As usual, you can get the full project files, samples, MIDI, presets, all of that from this video right at the top of the description on my Bandcamp, and if you're a patron on my Patreon, check there because it's already available. And yeah, let's get started. We're on 126 BPM. The first thing we have going on here are these 3 stabs, which sound like this. So these are just 3 different chord stabs. What they're playing is they're all playing minor 7th chords. So I'll show you the bass line really quick so I can just kind of show you. Basically, this starts on D sharp minor, and then in the second bar, it goes down to G sharp minor. So that's what these are doing. You can see we have this D sharp minor 7 here, then D sharp minor 7 here, and then when we have this 3rd stab, which is playing during the part where it's in G sharp minor, now you can see it goes to G sharp minor 7. And to make the minor 7 chord, all you do is you just take a regular minor chord, and then you add that minor 7th on top, and then there you go. And it's really simple. But yeah, so these are like not playing a whole lot of notes. That's the other thing you'll keep in mind. You know, it's about just making something simple and groovy that just kind of hits like that. And yeah, for the sound with this first one here, it's made with operator, so this is just the simple FM sound with 2 sine waves. You can see they're in the same octave, and then those are just going into a bandpass filter, and that's kind of what's filtering it back to be a little bit more stabby. Here's without this. You can hear without it, it just sounds kind of dark and like, but then when you add this, it's that high resonance that kind of pushes this more to the mid-range, and you get that nice, like, almost crunchy sort of organ type of sound. And then for effects with this one, we just have a bit of chorus to spread it out, a bit of echo as well. You can see this is really fast, so that's just adding that quick, like, kind of like just really quick echo on the end there. And then I just have a bit of drum bus to beef it up. This actually helps a lot when you're trying to make these like kind of more percussive chord stabs using synth, is just turning the transient knob up. Here's without it, and then with it. You can kind of hear that like hit at the start of the sound a lot more, and it's going to help that really stand out in the track. For the second one, it sounds like this. And so like I said, this one's also just playing that D sharp minor 7 chord. With this one, it's made also with FM synthesis. So you can see, this is also just 3 sine waves here. The second one is up an octave, and then I have the attack of this first one turned up. So it's just kind of fading into the sound. If I turn off this filter, you can hear that more. I'll turn off the auto pan too. So it's kind of just like into the sound like that. But yeah, so we've got those, and then I've got those going into this low pass filter here, and the low pass is being automated. Just to go like that. So you're getting kind of like a lot of different movements here, because you have the attack of the volume just going like in a straight line, but while that's happening, this one is also going like that. So it's like a few different movements that are happening there that are creating this sound and really making it feel like how it feels. And then I've got that just going into a chorus to spread it out a bit. We have this auto pan. This is honestly just to kind of accentuate that sort of like that fading in sound. Then I just have some drum bus to beef it up a little bit, and then a high pass filter. And that's it for the second stab. And then with the last stab, it sounds like this. So this one is the one that's just playing a G sharp minor 7 chord. With this one, this is made with analog. So all it is actually is just 1 saw wave, and then that's going into a low pass filter, which you can see the low pass has a pretty quick envelope on it, and then I'm also automating this filter frequency. Like here and here. So this just brings this to life a lot. I was noticing that these guys do this a lot in these tracks. Like, they'll have the stabs kind of like this one, which are a little bit more just kind of sitting in place. And then there's always that one that kind of like sounds like it's constantly changing, and that's the purpose of this, and that's what we're doing with the filter there. You can see it's like real subtle automations, but even just having that like super open filter to close is gonna make a big difference in the track in terms of the dynamics of your stabs. I've got the amp envelope set like this, then I just have, you can see I've got the vibrato turned up pretty high. You can really hear that over there in that held out note. And the unison's turned up pretty high as well, just giving it that sort of big, like, super saw, chorusy pad sort of sound. And then, speaking of which, we have a bit of chorus, which is just sort of spreading it out. Then we have this grain delay, so here's without this. And then with it. So you can see, this is just adding that cool kind of, like, stereo, sort of, like, washed out echo feel. Then I have a bit of echo as well, just doing 16th notes, which gives it that kind of feel. And then finally we just have a bit of drum bus. You can see I turned up the transients on that just like I was talking about. And yeah, that's it for the stabs. From there we have these two little effects sounds which sound like this. So if I play those in the mix, you can hear. So we have this little and then this more sort of like held out noise thing. And then these just sort of play in the background. You know, these are meant to be sort of like the extra layers that you may not always notice, but they're going to make a big difference in the overall track. And this is the kind of stuff that if it's missing, people may not always be able to tell what is missing, but they can tell that your track isn't quite like on that same level with other tracks. So with these, it's not really that complicated. This first one is really just some white noise. These are both actually just made with white noise. You can see this one is, yeah, we've got the white noise and operator here. I've got this amplitude envelope, and then it's going through a bandpass filter, which also has an envelope on it, and that's creating that on the sound. If I turn off the envelope, and then I'll turn it back on, so you can hear the envelope really is what creates that. The other secret to this is the resonance. If I turn the resonance off, you don't get as much of that like punchy clip. So yeah, it's kind of like this dance between the envelope and the resonance and the filter frequency with this sound. And then that's just going through a little bit of reverb, and that's all it is for that one. It makes something nice though, because I don't want to have just another chord stab, you know, at the start of every bar. So it helps to kind of come in with this one there. And yeah, then we have the second effects. So this one is a lot more in the background, but it's just sort of adding that little bit of flow in between the sounds where you'll have something like this now. You know, just something happening in the track to keep it exciting there in between the stabs. So this one is also just a bit of white noise, and then what's happening here is it's going into a bandpass filter. And then I have this LFO on the volume. So if I turn off all these effects here, you can hear what's happening. So here is just the white noise, just the filter, and then with the LFO. So we're adding that like kind of thing onto there. And yeah, the idea is just to create this sort of more textured noise this way. You know, it makes a sound that isn't just going to be like flat, but it has a lot more life to it. And then that's just going through a bit of chorus after that, a bit of grain delay as well. This is really adding more of that texture, because you're getting that like thing sort of accentuated. The key to this is turning the spray and that frequency knob up and just kind of playing around with those. That was really the secret to that. And then I just have a bit of drum bus to kind of beef it all up and make it come through a little bit more in the track evenly. And yeah, so then from there we have the kick, which sounds like this. This is a pretty standard sort of kick like you would hear in this type of track, you know. It's a very 909-esque kick. It is a 909 kick, but then just with a little bit more processing to kind of take it that extra step of the way. And so here I just have a bit of drum bus. Here's without it. And then with it, you can hear that's really all we need to get this kick to really punch through the mix and sound really full and fat and professional. Then we have the bass line, which sounds like this. So this bass line is following that pattern I was talking about here, where if you look at it, it's basically just going D sharp minor, and then G sharp minor, and then D sharp minor, and G sharp minor. So it's just bouncing between those two notes there, and those two chords, and creating this very cool sort of call and response thing. I think that's a big thing with this kind of bass line. It's just not just having like a groove. The groove is pretty simple, you know, that comes with just playing with different syncopated 16th notes and 8th notes, but having this really bouncy thing where like the bass is really telling the story, you know. Usually you would have your chord progression tell the story, and then the bass is just kind of supplementing that. In the case here, I'm looking at the bass more like the chord progression or like the lead, and then the chords are just sort of like extra background, like percussive stuff. So yeah, that would be the bass line. You can see it's mostly just following notes in this G sharp minor scale as well. Like if you look at it, you know, we have like G sharp, minor third, which would be, or D sharp, excuse me, D sharp, and then the minor third, which would be F sharp, G sharp, which is the fourth. We have this B here, which is just one note up from the fifth, A sharp. You know, it's all like can be easily traced back to this key, but then it's just doing something interesting and bouncy and exciting with that. The other thing I'll talk about here, and you'll see this with everything, is I have this groove, I have this logic swing on here, so that's how you're getting the sort of skippy swung 16th notes. It's just putting that swing on there. This works really nicely because you'll see like with all the hi-hats and stuff later, it makes the groove really uniform. If I move these notes by hand, you know, it's never going to be exactly the same if I go and try to do that same thing on another track. This way, every track inside of this project file is grooving at the same time. And yeah, so for the sound with this one, this is actually just a simple saw wave going into a low pass filter. That's all it is. It's just saw wave, and then I just put the low pass down really low. The secret here really is just finessing the filter frequency on the low pass and then where the envelope is, like just keeping it really deep and bassy like this. And then that's just going through a bit of drum bus. I've got to kind of beef it up. I've got an EQ here, cut out a little bit of space, and then we just have a compressor side chaining it a little bit to the kick just to kind of make them fit together. And then on the group of the kick and bass, there's just a tiny bit of saturation. So this is a small detail. It's just something that helps to glue the kick and bass together and give it that last like final push to really make the mix feel full and to make your low end feel proper. If you're having a hard time with your tracks getting your low end to sound right and to get it to like really fit into the mix the right way, try this, because chances are this is all you really need to do. Here's without the saturator, and then with it. So there we go. It's real subtle. You know, you don't really need a whole lot if you already have really good sounds going into it, but it's just that last little push that's going to make your kick and bass line really feel even and glued together and powerful in the mix. Then the next thing we have here is the percussion, which starts with this clap. So this is just your standard clap. It's just, yeah, nice, punchy, hard-hitting clap like this. I've got it going through some saturation. Yeah, this one's just about getting that right sample that's not going to be too fast and short, but also not going to be too long and like all reverbed out, stretched and stuff. Just having this quick little like this is perfect. And that's just going through a bit of saturation to beef it up. From there we have the hi-hats, which sound like this. So basically what's happening is we have this layer and this layer. So you can hear this one's playing kind of like the punch, and this one gives you the body of that main hi-hat. Those two are layered together to make this. Just like this very full and fat sounding hi-hat. This is what you really need to do if you're trying to make these style of hi-hats. A lot of people think it's just this hi-hat, But if you have just this one, it's going to be too soft. You really need that layer to get the punch in there. You hear the difference. And then this extra one, which you can hear is actually really quiet, and that just plays a few notes in there. So yeah, it's just meant to be really quiet in the background there and kind of playing off of what the other hi-hats are doing. You know, it's about having kind of different levels of different stuff. Like we have, you know, these would be sort of our main hi-hats right up front. Then this one would be a lot more in the back. And then we come down to the shaker and tambourine, and those would probably be more in the middle. So yeah, then we have the shaker and tambourine here. These are just playing more of these sort of like notes that are just bouncing off of the main hi-hat. So now we put it all together and you can hear a groove happening there. And that's the idea, is by having the different stuff like the shaker and tambourine and then this hi-hat 3 here, where it's all kind of in different places. Some is in the middle, some is in the back, some is right up front. You're going to create like a lot more groove there between the hi-hats because they're going to be sort of speaking to each other. And that's the idea behind this shaker and tambourine down here. And you can also see with those that we've got that swing I was telling you about, the groove on all of these. And yeah, and then the last thing down here in the percussion is just this little bell and snare and like percussion here. So you can hear these are just these sort of 3 percussions that are hitting every single time. You know, just creates some really steady groove for the track because you're hearing like you can kind of count on the snare and the bell. And that little percussion there too. And yeah, these are just adding that extra little bit of groove percussion to the mix. And then on the group of all that percussion, we just have a little bit of drum bus and a bit of EQ. So here's without these. And then with them. So you can hear it's not actually even doing that much. Like really the sound is just happening, like I was saying with the kick and bass, from having strong, powerful percussion sounds already. But then this drum bus and EQ you can hear just adds the extra little push onto the sound by giving a little bit more fatness and kind of gluing stuff together and a bit more punch with the drum bus. And then the EQ here just cutting out the lows and bringing out those nice highs to really like, you know, clean this up and make it fit really nicely into this track. And yeah, so that is it for the percussion, and that's also going to be it for this video, guys. I hope you enjoyed. As always, make sure to like this video, as well as subscribe, and let me know what you think of this video in the comments. Like I said in the beginning, you can get this full project file, samples, MIDI, and presets. All of that stuff from this video is available right at the top of the description on my Bandcamp. If you guys have been enjoying these videos, this is a great way to support me. Again, I'm not making a whole lot off of these videos, but with the sample packs and different stuff like this, I'm able to keep going. So I can keep making you guys new videos and keep teaching you new techniques every day. So yeah, thank you so much everybody. I appreciate all the support, and I will see you tomorrow with another video.